And welcome to the Role-Based Podcast, an RPG podcast for you adventurers. And I am your first member in your party, Jeremy, the creator of the In-Game Boss program, aka your retro activist. And joining you, the second member of the party, Mr. Brian Foster.
Welcome to the party.
How you doing, Brian?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. This is actually our very first episode of the podcast, so I want to welcome everybody for listening. And before we go into the first game on this list, I want to kind of just discuss a little bit about, based on our history with RPG games, what made us want to do this real quick, and then we'll get right into it because we don't want to waste the adventures. Because like most RPG games, we just want to hurry up and get straight to the action, per se.
Sort of a long startup screen. Create your name, create your character. What job? What class? Oh, welcome to the story. Well, it's going to take 6 hours before you get controlling character. Yeah, all
right. So, just really quick, Brian and I are big RPG players, and we've been playing RPGs games for a very long time. I was kind of late to playing RPGs. It wasn't until probably around the late PlayStation 1 and 64 to really start getting into RPGs. So, I didn't get a chance to play Chrono Trigger off the block, Secret of Mana, Super Mario RPG, some of those big names. Man, I even missed the Final Fantasy VII bus. And then I went back to later on to play it. And I think when we started hanging out, because I think we hung out, I think I was still a junior or a senior in high school, I want to say.
Something like that.
Yeah. And then we started connecting a little bit more. And then I started, kind of seeing you play RPG games. I kind of started playing off of RPG games that you have. And then I started kind of going my own path. Because, what I like about this show is as we get older, there's a lot of RPG games that we played and some we haven't played. So this gives us a chance to kind of go back and play some of these games. So before I start on what the point of the show is, Brian, what about you? What's your experience?
It's about the same. I think it's not PlayStation era, though. I think it was it might be. It might be like middle PlayStation era.
Okay.
I've played some older RPGs before, but I couldn't get into them. Like, I was too young, I guess, to understand what was really going on or leveling up and all this other stuff. And it's funny because I went back and played some of the older games. I was like, oh, this was an RPG. I know what level up means now. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I think Final Fantasy VIII, which is funny enough, is one of the biggest RPGs I first got into. Mm-hmm. I played 7. I couldn't get into it. And, of course, the pitchforks have come out for that. But I liked 8 better. And that's really where it started. And then I started playing RPGs a lot after that. So, kind of where it started.
So the way this show works is there's still a bunch of RPG games out there. Some are good, some are bad. But luckily, Brian and I decided that let's try to play some games that, one, that we never got a chance to play and we want to play them. And 2, just for the fun for our viewers, we'll take one for the team and try out some bad RPG games and talk about them. Because I think it'll just be a fun conversation to talk about, like, how we feel about the story, how we feel about the combat, how we feel about the lore. And, we want you guys to, hear it. Now, this is not really I wouldn't say it's more of a review. I feel it's just kind of open discussion how we feel about the game. And on top of that, this is a different view of us going back to an old game compared to what it was then. So, you're going to have to remember that our mindsets of playing these new RPG games is going to come at it a little bit different. But
our tolerance for bullcrap is a lot less now.
That's true. That's true. But I think it's also a good lesson for us because the show that honestly was talk about if this was a good game or a good battle since the way it was. And I want to try to have a mindset if I was little going back to this game, would I actually enjoy it? And we're going to try our best to do that.
That's a bit difficult, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what kind of RPGs we've played lately and what kind of bar we set for ourselves. So we go back and look at this, we really would have to look at it objectively like, is this really what they intended? Because this should be like this, but of course that's our future selves playing an old game. So yeah, we have to really kind of take ourselves out of it to get a good idea of what we were playing.
Yeah, so this is a monthly podcast. So each month we'll have a RPG to present you. And the way it works is Brian will have, in this episode, this is Brian's pick. Then the next episode will be my pick. And then the third pick will be a very interesting or a very bad game. And then that rotation continues on. And we're jumping from Nintendo, Super Nintendo, PlayStation, any way we can get our hands on some of these games that one, they're very rare. Some of these RPG games are just rare and hard to find. So maybe there'll be some that we'll never get to. But the ones we can, I'm excited because, there's some games where that battle system or that style influence another RPG game that might connect to something we love. For instance, there was a game on the PS1 that influenced Shadowheart. And it starts with a K. I forgot what the name, but Shadowheart was a game that you love, and I wanted to play that. That game is so hard to find.
It's expensive now, too.
Yeah, and it's the only Midway developers RPGs games at the time. And so, until Xseed, I think, took over or whatever. Yeah. But, you'd be surprised that developer who made that game made a game before that, and you find out that battle system was presented there first before it went to Shadowheart. So you'll get some of that from Grandia to Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy battle system has influenced a lot of other RPGs, and they used it. And try to flip it in their own way. Dragon Quest, all this stuff. So enough for the long intro. Let's talk about the very first game on Brian's list.
Before we do that, RPG of late has become a little I can't even think of the word.
Derailed?
It's a little ambiguous, I guess you'd say.
Okay.
Because some people think some people might think that if we're talking RPGs, we're talking Dark Souls, which has an RPG element to it, but I guess we talking more about JRPGs, the turn-based type things, stuff like that, not action RPGs. Like those are action RPGs. I mean, you level up, you get stronger, your stats go up with every level, stuff like that. But our RPGs are, kind of story-based usually, like the JRPGs were, and things like that. So we're mostly talking about JRPGs. Maybe we throw action RPG in there. I don't know. But, yeah.
You could. I mean, Secret of Mana would be kind of an action RPG. I mean, it's not a turn-based. It's active.
That's true.
In that way. I think for me, the RPGs is more of, it's weird because, progression is a big key to this.
Yes.
And all that. But I think it's more of, does the level up really mean something? Dark Souls level up is different because you choose where you want to be powerful at.
Versus, say the game we're talking about today, where it'd level up a bunch of skills every time you level up. And in fact, it doesn't really give you the option to allocate where you want it to go. It just gives it to you. So, every time you level up, you get 2 strength or whatever like that. Whereas Dark Souls, you get a point to place it anywhere you want to. So then you do builds is what they call it.
Yeah, and you have to remember no skill tree. They give you, when you're at a certain level, then they gift you a new ability.
Yeah.
Compared to the other ones where okay, maybe I want this instead of this. So less freedom of choice per se back in the day.
Oh, badly. Because I didn't even know the first skill I was going to get. And it was like, bam, there it is. I didn't choose this.
Yeah. So, Brian, what do you tell everybody the game that you picked for the first episode?
So I chose Lufia and Fortress of Doom. I've heard about
a DC comic.
I know it sounds like a DC comic or some weird children's cartoon, but it stood out to me because I've heard the game before, and I swear I heard somebody said it was pretty good. So I looked at the box art to see, how much line I was going to get or whatever. But the box art, it looks like, your typical RPG. You got your hero on the front who carries a sword. Then you got a female who's more than likely a sorcerer. I mean, I'm not trying to make any sexist jokes. They can do what they want. But, and then you got, a couple other people in your party, the strong guy, and then probably your white mage or black mage or what have you. So it looked like a typical JRPG that I would play. So I said, hey, let's give it a try.
So definitely one thing that stands out is definitely kind of the anime kind of look. Like you would say, like Slayer's a record of Lotus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does look like an old school anime.
Yeah, or people that made Thundercats.
Yeah. It's like an 80s anime. Yeah, it does look very 80s anime.
Yeah. Especially that sword hangs out. It kind of has that.
Subconsciously, it might have grabbed me. I never thought, oh, it looks anime. But hey, in my head, it probably was saying anime. Choose it. So
also too, I don't know why with RPG games, but floating castles is very attractive on covers. I don't know why. Like it's more of like that feels like the end of the world kind of feel when you see a floating castle or something like that, or your destiny's happening in this floating castle. You don't know how you're gonna get there yet.
What is it about that?
I don't know. It's just part of that fantasy because it's like, how the hell does a castle just float. You know, like you have to be. It's more power. Like,
Magic.
how powerful you have to be.
Well, magic, obviously, but
Right.
yeah, but the bigger the castle, the bigger the floating, the stronger the enemy is because
Yeah.
he's making it float
Yeah, exactly.
and doing other things at the same time. So he has to be super strong.
But one of the things that stood out is the advertisement they did on the cover of this. So like battle in an opening story that was interesting. A vast new RPG world. But the last one kind of confused me. It says include battery backup system. Now, Brian, I have to ask you, what does that mean to you? Because I looked it up and it still kind of confuses me what they were trying to say.
You want me to tell you what it means, or you want me to tell you what I thought it meant?
What do you thought it meant?
What I thought it meant. Honestly, I don't know. I can't tell you. I know what it means. It means that you can save your game and it won't erase it ever. But they had systems.
So no passwords to put in.
Yeah, you can actually save it on the cartridge, and it had a battery backup to maintain and make sure it was good. And I swear that Zelda had that, but it didn't have a battery backup, or maybe it did. I don't know.
Like Link to the Past did, yeah.
It had a battery backup, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like Zelda on the Nintendo, like Zelda 2.
No, that was passwords, definitely.
Yes, it was.
It was passwords.
It was passwords.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what it actually means. Battery backup, I don't know. Maybe it means you can turn the Super Nintendo off and keep playing.
It's such a weird way to phrase it. I think it's just, when I looked up, it's just basically the game has built-in 3 slots that you can use. And it's like, well, didn't Chrono Trigger kind of have that? Secret of Mana kind of had that?
But they probably had battery backups as well.
Yeah,
I just know it.
I feel like, I don't know why. I just don't like the name.
I don't know why they use that as a tagline, though. It's like, okay.
I would just say in-game save files instead of
be like,
battery backup system.
Dedicated save files.
Yeah.
And you got to think, this is Super Nintendo time, so this is before adults really were okay with playing video games. So all of the games were mostly marketed at kids. So why would you say that? You know, kid don't know what that means.
No.
So it's like,
no, this is definitely more for the hardcore RPG people. Like,
still, I mean,
you're right.
It wasn't okay to be a gamer back then in the 90s. They hated it. So
thanks, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't all Mortal Kombat. Before Mortal Kombat, they were like, it's gonna rot your brains, and then they're using it at hospitals now to help people with their hand-eye coordination. So thanks a lot. But yeah, it's still, back then it was still geared towards kids. So why would you include that? Why would you just say fun dungeon crawling or something to that effect? I don't know. So
if I had to rate it to if like or dislike, I do like the cover. Minus the advertising on the side, I like the cover. The cover of the game is very cool. It's very animated.
Traditional RPG, it looks like, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, like I said, the fighter, the white and the black mage, and another fighter. Mm-hmm. That's basic RPG.
Yeah, and nothing's better than using a sword as one of your letters in the name.
Oh, yeah. That's how you know it's time to get down to business.
Yeah. So, let's go ahead and go into basically the story itself. In most JRPG games, is a bit of a nutshell of most RPG games. Something happens, the world's coming to an end, you are the hero, have to do it. But to give you a little bit more of a setting per se, we are presented at the very beginning of the world where it's more of it shows you kind of like a prequel per se before the game starts, where you are seeing these 4 heroes. You know, they are named Maximum, Salon, I guess, Guy, and RT, RT, I guess. But these characters are there to take down the 4
Sinestrals.
Yeah, Sinestrals. And basically their own way of being these very powerful beings and whatnot.
And they explained it before you start fighting. They explained that there was a floating city, and it just came out of nowhere. And then these Sinestrals said, you know, we're big and bad, and we're gonna do what we want, and you had to stop us or something.
Right. So you get there, and you know you're making your way up. Before we'll talk about how we feel about all of that. But you know they make their way up. They fight. They beat them. Then a situation happens where 2 members, Guy and RT is an elf and Guy is a human, and actually everybody's a human except for RT. But 2 people didn't make it. That's Maximum and Salon, while Guy and RT made it out. So the world collapsed. Then 100 years pass, or 90 years, or per se, whatever. A long time has passed.
Well, it was 90 years, and then you get to meet the main character, and then it skips another.
That's right.
So it's about 100 years all together when you start playing.
So 100 years pass, and we are brought by the hero. What's the name of the hero? You name him whatever you want, but he's titled the hero.
He's Hero. That's his name.
Yeah, he's Hero.
Player 1, Hero.
Yeah, and so you find out that you are a descendant to Maximum, and 100 years has passed with no monsters, which I question that. But anyways, 100 years has passed, no monsters or whatever, and then all of a sudden,
monsters.
Yeah, and it starts attacking a castle or a kingdom a little bit further away from where you're at, which you're in Alexia or something like that. Yeah. So you have to you find out that town's being overrun by monsters. So you decide to go investigate. Why? Because the funniest part about this is, like, your hero is concerned about it. By the way, he is training to be a knight. And at the same time, he's friends with this girl, Lufia, that just randomly shows up. We don't know any of her backstory. She's this mysterious girl. And you don't know anything about her. All you know is she's good at making pies. But
cinnamon pies.
Cinnamon pies. Which I want to look up how the hell you make a cinnamon pie. I feel like it's apple pie with just more cinnamon in it to me.
But I don't know. Right now I'm hungry, so it sounds really good right now. But when I first heard it, I had just finished eating. I was like, that sounds gross.
So he goes investigates because the kingdom wants to go investigate, but they have to go through the system per se.
And the system will take I don't know how long, like a month or two.
Yeah, that's what they said. Like, he went to his leader of the knights, and he's like, yeah, we got to get them. We're going to, we got to connect with the other kingdoms, the other members, and then we're going to come together and we're going to form a team. We're gonna
it was going to take a week. It was going to take a week before they can convene to decide if they're going to send anybody. So it's going to take a week before they decide to even send anybody. It's like, what?
Yeah. So Hero's like, bump this, I'm going. So
yeah, exactly.
So you go on the venture, and from there you find out that one of the Sinistros has returned.
That's Gades.
Yeah, which he looks like a beef up Ganondorf.
Yeah, he does. Ooh, that's a good description.
Yeah,
but yeah, he does.
Yeah, and so actually, no lie, if they made another Zelda game like Beyond Breath of the Wild 2, I hope maybe that'd be a cool looking Ganon character to me. Just throwing that out there, that'd be kind of cool. So like a Dark World Ganon, like that'd be kind of cool. Anyways, so from there you find out that they have been brought back to the world after 100 years, and your goal is to find out what's going on and defeat them by going to visit somehow Guy and RT that are still alive. Yeah. But you are joined by Lufia that. She's your best friend. She grew up with you, and she wants to be there for you for everything. I'm like, she's thirsty, so she's with you all the way. And then you're brought in by another character named
it's a captain named Arturo or something.
Aguro, I guess. And then Jurin, which in my playthrough, which I have put in 8 hours. And I haven't got to the last member. I got to the third one, Aguro. And I was at level 13 when I stopped. Now, part of each month, we just try to put as much time we can into the game and talk about what our thoughts about it.
With a minimum of at least 5 hours.
Yeah,
so
minimum of 5 hours.
We can at least semi-competently talk about it.
Yeah, and 5 hours should be enough. Like, if you can't find, if the story's not progressing enough in 5 hours, that means the game is probably not that good. If you can't even get something going in 5 hours. Some games can't do that, but luckily this game kind of started pumping up. I think for me about 2 hours, started kind of picking up a little bit after 2 hours.
When I got to the first castle, and
you fought the Sinestro.
Yeah, when I fought the Sinestro is when it picked up. I was like, all right.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, your goal is to find out what they're find these Sinestros, defeat them, and save the world once again. So. Now,
but one thing, this is funny to me. This is something that I've picked up. There's a couple of times when you're talking to the hero, and he's like, "Oh, it's I got Maxim in my blood, so I had to do this, I had to do that." And I'm like, "Is he is Maxim blood like Super Saiyan or something? You have to fight somebody or something? You're hot blooded." I just thought that was funny.
You think it's that, or is it that he feels like he's destined that he has to do it?
I don't know. He just said it's the maximum blood. So I felt he was like a Saiyan and he had to go fight somebody because his blood was boiling or something. I don't know. But I mean, it could be both. I'm sure he feels like he has to live up to maximum.
I feel like when we go into the characters, I feel like he's a bit leaning too hard on that. But we'll go into that and assume that. So that's the story. What about the lore and the world itself? So
the world seems like it's olden times or whatever, medieval times, something like that. You got shops, you got weapons. I mean, I didn't see any guns or anything, so I'm assuming it's, swords and shields and clubs and stuff like that. Maybe they have guns. I didn't get that far or whatever. But I mean, your typical, not ancient, but medieval time, things like that. And then, of course, there's magic in the world. You have shops. You have this one guy who does, I swear he does remedies or something like that.
You have a potion shop, but the logo on the house is a teapot.
Yeah, it's a teapot.
So you would think like, this is a potion shop?
Yeah.
Or am I getting tea here? I don't know.
I don't know.
Some
Maybe
of the
both.
Some
and then I swear they had a broth because there was one guy I could buy like beer or something from.
Okay.
So is there a brothel? I don't know.
I
didn't use it.
I don't know, but there is the traditional priest where.
Yes, the priest. That's what.
So the priest where he's there to bring your characters back to life. Uncursed weapons, all that kind of stuff. Then, like you said, to mention the inn, your weaponsmith, your armor stuff, all that stuff. I think the one thing that stood out to this story, and I think it brings out the whole thing for me as the game as a whole, is I feel like it's trying too hard. It's trying too hard to be different in a way instead of keeping stuff very simple.
I can see that.
For instance, that for one. The 100 years without monsters is not believable to me because it's like
the Sinestros did they create the monsters?
I guess, but I don't know what they're describing as monsters to them because, like, you're walking out of the village and you're dealing with an orange blob or a newt.
Or newt.
Like I'll give the newt a slide. Like, okay, that's not really a monster, it's a lizard, but a blob is. Yeah, put that in the monster category.
And then you go in the cave and you fight man-sized spiders. That's a monster to me.
Yeah.
A regular-sized spider is nearly a monster.
So, I don't know what they meant, like, 100 years. I guess, like, since monsters don't attack anything, I guess, per se.
Probably.
And so, and another thing, too, was really stood out to me was how expensive everything is.
And how much money you don't get for each battle? Now, like, oh, my goodness.
That's funny because later in the game, I started making bank.
Yeah, but finding chests.
No, like so many monsters later on come on your screen. The battle system, they just drop so much money. Like I think halfway in my session, I started dropping like $200, $300 a battle. It was crazy. I don't know why. I wasn't wearing anything that gave me a plus or anything that more money. But yeah, at the beginning, oh man, you get like 2 coins, 3 coins.
Oh yeah, and then like your first, when you first go out, you're going to trek to whatever because I had got Lufia in my party. We was going to go back to that town and figure out what was going on. So I actually grinded a little bit, try to get, some weapons or whatever. Now, in any other RPG, you grind for maybe a few minutes and then you got the money. Oh, no. You start out with maybe $50, 50 gold coins or something, and your first upgrade is almost $200. And you're getting 2 coins per battle. It's like, what? Dude, the crap.
Dude, first off, I had to change my buttons around because everything felt opposite. So I kept saying no to everything. I wanted to say yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to change my buttons around because I bought a dagger that was $60 out of my $100, and I actually sold it back because the buttons were messed up. So I had to change the buttons around because A is your no and B is your yes. So it was weird at the time, and for a Super Nintendo game, I guess. And one thing I didn't know this, but maybe you did, but it happened to me. Did you go up to the castle and you talked to the princess of that castle, and she gave you $100?
I did not.
She gave me 100 coins.
I talked to her. She gave me jack.
Yeah, like the one standing outside before you go in to talk to the king.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, hey, I know you're about to go on this adventure. Here's some money. Yeah, she gave me $100. It's real.
I don't know if I talked to her after the event. I talked to her when I was looking around.
Okay.
So
it was after when we found out about the chaos. Then when I talked to her, she's like, "Here's $100."
Yeah, I talked to her before that. That's
okay.
Probably why.
Yeah, she gave me $100 and whatnot, and I was like, okay. So then I managed to get the dagger back again, and I went on. One thing that is confusing about this game is everybody looks too similar.
Everybody got a big head and no body.
Well, all the women look all the same.
Yes, they do.
And that's annoying. Like they said, go talk to the princess. I'm like, are you the princess? No. Are you the princess? No. You all look the same. Like, it's really like, find the room that's expensive. Maybe that's where the princess is. It's weird.
They have the early RPG deal of, they tell you to do something and then you got to figure it out, and it's not clear most of the time. You just kind of got to figure it out, and I hate that. But, I mean, it was what it was for its time.
Yeah. But definitely, other things that stood out is
the way you bought items. Okay, if you want to,
let me tell you,
when you want to buy an item in any RPG, you go click on the item. You see a sword. More than likely, they will show you what you're currently holding, so you can know if this sword is better or not. In this game, they have a buy, sell, exit, and look option. In order to see if this weapon is even better than what you're carrying, you have to click on the look option. Then you have to click on the character. Then you can finally click on whatever item you want to look at, and it'll finally tell you. That is a lot of menus to go through just to do all that.
And that's why I think it feels like it's trying too hard, because it's doing too much extra for that. To me, it's like, why do we have a look, or why do we have a buy? Because if you go to look and you go to weapon, you can buy the weapon while you're looking at it. Yes. And it's like, then what's the point of buy? Like, exactly. Take the buy away and just leave it as look, or put them together. If I buy, then give me the stats.
Buy, give me the stats, versus I have to look at it, see what it is, then back out, then go to buy, and then to buy it. That's a lot of middleman stuff.
And then when you go into a potion shop, it's red. You can't look. Yeah. They won't give you a description of these weapons. You're gonna have to put 2 and 2 together, or try them out and see what happens.
But that I'm not gonna blame Lufia for that. That's just a old RPG as well. They didn't tell you what some of the stuff did, and they don't still. I mean, they don't tell you what this does or just that.
Or that you have to misleading.
You have to figure it out if it's not common sense, like potion. Everybody knows what potion does. Everybody knows what antidote does. But then you got these other deals like, they had one in Awaken. Now you can figure that is to pick up one of your characters who went down. But they had, I forget what it was called. They had Grilled Newt and some other stuff. And I'm like, what does that do? And they had one to not make it to where. No. I'm not gonna talk about that yet. I'm gonna get to that though, because that was one of my peeve points.
Yeah. Power potions. That's more of your power up. I guess my mindset, I thought it was more of a high potion, but is this more power up? And I kind of get it now that I think about it after opening. Like, okay, it powers you up in some sort of way, right? Escape, which escape is a gold in this game to me when it comes to certain situations. Why I just want to just get out.
And dungeons and such.
But the weirdest one is Sweetwater. Did you ever use the Sweetwater?
I did use Sweetwater. That's the one I'm gonna get into.
Okay. I'm
gonna get there.
Yeah. The Sweetwater. Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna get there.
Yeah, but there is some items in there. Yes. They're hard to describe. I guess when I think of food, I guess food would automatically be a health thing, but sometimes it might not be that thing. I didn't get a chance to try everything. The one item I did like was arrows, because even though it was kind of pointless, it does help me against somebody that uses the ability, like I don't know how far you got, but when you had to go find RT, the elf that live, because in the world of fantasy, elves live longer than humans, over 100 years on them. So before you give information, you have to fight him. I don't know if you fought him like as a trainee. He was in an armor set with spikes all around his body, and he would use this spell where if you hit him, he hurts you too. Mirror. Yeah. Well, I thought mirror was for magic. He did a move where like you straight attack him, he hurts you too.
Oh.
And so I use arrows on him because he couldn't hit. It wouldn't hurt me per se. And so, but also too, what's weird is I get the idea of buying everything Sam Club style, like 1, 4, and 10.
Oh my god.
I get it.
Forgot about that.
I get it for potions and stuff. But I don't understand it for weapons, because like, who the hell is gonna buy 10 packs of swords?
So basically, what he's talking about is you go to the buy menu, you see a sword. After you press buy, then it takes you to the next menu that says, do you want to buy 1, 4, or like 8?
No, they do it before. Before you go and stuff, they ask you 1, 4, or 10.
Yeah, before you choose your item, you go buy right after buy.
Yeah.
How much are you buying?
Yeah,
like just 1. Jesus, what do you mean 4? I'm buying 4 swords. Like really? But it does that for everything. So it's like you are shopping at Sam's Club. You're buying in bulk. That's it. You can't buy 2.
Yeah, you can't do that whole
You
like
buy 1 or 4. You ain't buying 2 or 3.
You can't do that mode where you buy and then you press the left or right how much you want or how much or less.
No, you got to choose before you even come in here.
So I always go to 1 and I just have to rebuy when it comes to potions and build that up. Which potions are actually pretty cheap, per se when you get more money. Because I think towards the end of my session I was at 99 potions and 99 sweet water. And I was like, okay.
I was at a lot, but that's because I didn't use potions at all. Because if you're fighting 4 people at once, which this is kind of where I ended my game because I fought some stronger people, and there was 4 of them. If you use a potion, by the time you get to actually move that character again, you'll be right back to where you started.
I use them more off battle, so I don't waste my magic if I'm like trapped in the dungeon and stuff. Yeah. That's when I use the potion. That's for me personally.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah, that's it. But no, I agree with you. Like when we get into the battle talk, it's really about every decision mattered kind of thing. Another thing too that definitely stood out was in my notes here. I wrote a lot of notes. But one of the things I definitely stood out would have to be let me see here. Like we said, no details on items, weapon and clothes are expensive, yada yada. It's the curse weapons. So did you ever get a curse weapon?
I did not.
Okay, so there's a curse weapon. And my thought of a curse weapon is, of course, if you equip the weapon, some effect happens to you, right?
Yeah, you lose health, you lose hit points,
yeah,
strength, something.
Yeah.
It doesn't attack at the full power.
Something that damage you in some sort of way.
Yeah.
So, and the cool part about this is the fact that like they give you a warning of like, hey, this is a curse weapon. Are you sure you want to equip it? So I was like, okay, cool. So it's my fault if I want to equip it. I get that, right? And so, and 2 things I think happened to me, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I feel like even if you don't equip the weapon, something does happen to you regardless, because it's just in your inventory. It's in your inventory. But here's the thing, though. When you go to the priest, because the priest can lift curse, my mindset is, okay, you are going to lift the curse out of the weapon, and I should be able to use it. Right? That's my mindset. In this game, when they mean lift the curse, they mean lift it out of your hand, because if you equip a curse weapon, any curse weapon or item, it is stuck with you. You can't unequip it on your own. So he will lift the sword out of your inventory. It's still cursed. They just basically help you unequip it. And that confused me because they charged me $600.
Ooh.
So I was like, $600. I would think, okay, all right, it's a powerful sword. And it was a powerful sword. I'm like, okay, I'll save money, $600, lift the curse, then I get to rock this sword. No, it didn't work like that. Because he says unequip, and I go back to it, and it still warned me it's cursed. I'm like, I don't understand. So I sold it.
Oh, buyer's remorse there.
Yeah. Yeah. And what that sword did was it takes part of your life each turn. So it's basically you've been poisoned every single time.
Yeah.
So I just thought like lifting a curse is kind of dumb in this game per se. It's like, I don't know why.
It seems like it's basically unequipped thing. You don't actually lift curses. You just lift curse weapons out of your hand.
Right. It's very misleading.
That's terrible.
It's so misleading to me.
Let me lift this weapon from the ad. I mean, is this Thor's hammer? I mean, you can't pick it up. I mean, I don't know.
Oh man. Another thing that is funny though is the people. Even though I said they look alike, there's some stuff I question about some of these people here, like the shopkeepers and stuff. I know this is RPG game, JRPG game 101, but it always weirds me out that they have no way of getting out of their. Behind
the counter. Yeah. Nowhere to leave.
Yeah, they have to. I feel like they have to jump over the counter.
Maybe they do.
Yeah, just to do that it's funny because like also too what it is in most RPG games when you go to an inn, each new area you get, it gets more expensive to stay at the inn, and this is the game I use the inn a lot. I had to.
Yeah, you do.
Except if you're willing to make the time for the grind, the first town you're in is free.
Yeah.
And you can go there as many times as you want, and that's cool and everything. But then like your average is 20, then it goes up to 40. The max I have seen in my adventure was $60. But I was making so much money on these battles later. That felt like $20 to me at the time. And so how far did we get? So I got with my 8 hours, I managed to get to the point where I had to help. I had to head to the desert to go talk to Artsy. and he was supposed to give me information about what's going on with these, with the beans and all this stuff. And it led me to this girl that is sick, and we've seen this story before. This girl is sick. They heard about this treasure that can cure everything and whatnot, and someone took it to this cave. The girl went to go follow it, and this boy joins you because in this game you'll have random people that join your party, but they're not playing. They're just NPCs that join you. Yeah. So we had this little kid join me, and I was in this cave, and that cave kicked my butt. It was bad, but that's how far I got to. How far did you get in your
session? I got to right after you get to it's a city that starts with a G. Can't remember the name of it.
Okay.
But it you go to the one town, and then you leave there and you go to Tariq, something like that. And then from there you meet the third character, your third party member.
Guy.
No. The
general.
Second party member, I'm sorry. Second party member, Agira, whatever the name is. And right after that, you do this really hard fight that it happens out of nowhere, because I actually had to do it twice, because first time I was coming back to the town, and that's another thing we talk about, the battle system. The battle system's random, so
yeah.
I didn't get my level up or anything. So right after you get him, you fight like these relatively strong people, and they just
were they the goblins?
Yeah, they're the goblin thing.
Yeah, it was at the docks, right?
Yeah, and they kicked the crap out of me the first time.
Yeah.
Second time I slept at the end, and then I was able to fight back. And right after that, you have to find a boat, and you have to go clear across this other way, and then you find a boat on this little bitty island. Then after that, you can go to whatever city that's called or whatever. And I was shortly right after that.
So was it the town with the giant cave where you have to pay to go into the cave to do different levels in the treasure hunts and whatnot? Yeah. Can we talk about that for a second? I think it's bullcrap that you have to pay $50 to get in every single time. And
I've talked to him once and I left. Didn't even do it again. I was like, I ain't paying for.
So I went in there twice, and you get sent to this cave, and they give you a buttload of weapons. That's where I found my most powerful weapons were in there.
I guess I should have went in there.
And then there's certain treasure. If you find a certain treasure, you have to go back over there, which you have to pay again. And then they paying you by like $1,000 to $500 for each one. Which there's some good treasure that they drop you like $500. Like it's not like, okay, fine, why not? But they go by levels, so you can't go in there endlessly. So like I was at a certain level, I got to go in twice, but I couldn't go in the third time. And what sucks is I had to pay $50 to find out that I couldn't go further, and I was so mad. I was like, what? So, but at the same time, wasn't in the world. Got to do something, right? And so, I'm trying to think. Is there anything else that we want to talk about before we moved on?
Talk about the story. Talked about the shops. Your basic shops. You got a healer.
There's one more thing. There's a lot of things to search in, like a lot of drawers, a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that until I was almost done.
They were nice about that. Like every building that you gone into, you can find something in there.
I thought it was just straight chests. Like you can tell what a chest looks like, but I think I was accidentally pressing on something. It was like the drawer open or something. I was like, what? I didn't know that.
Did you find that out by a knight? Like a knight told me this, and he said you can even search outside. Like there's little flower beds. And you can search in there and find stuff. Did you find that out on your own without anybody telling you? Okay.
It was simply I was just pushing the buttons real fast.
Okay.
And it is a drawer open. I was like, what?
Yeah, dude. But how much did you search? Did you search everywhere? Like even in the castles?
After that, I started searching pretty good.
They were nice, weren't they? They gave you a lot of stuff.
But I had to go all the way back and all the stupid random battles. I was like, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm not even doing it.
So that's a little bit of the lore itself. Now, before we get into the characters, I do have some quotes that I think stood out to me from the people. Now, this is just funny because when you play RPG games and whatnot, sometimes people say stuff to you that helps you, some things that doesn't help you. And sometimes they just say stuff like just to say stuff that didn't work out for me. And one of them is 100 years with no monsters. Now, that just stood out to me. I know I mentioned earlier, but that just stood out to me because it was more like, okay.
I don't believe it.
I just don't believe you at all. And then the other one I found was, I thought I found another one on here. Oh, no, I didn't. Never mind. But, Yeah, that one is the one that stood out to me the most.
Even in RPGs, it's always been you've had monsters or something to deal with. It's just that they're not, huge. They're like critters or pests or anything. And then something happens to where either the monsters are more vicious or numerous or something, and now it's threatening something. So for them to say that there's no monsters at all, that sounds suspect. It's like,
oh, okay, wait. I found my quote. One of the quotes I wrote is one character said, or hang on. Oh, okay. I don't remember if it was my character or the person. It might have been my character, or the character, the hero. But basically, something came down to a certain price, and he said, "Give me a break. How much? 5,800 gold pieces? That's crazy. You could buy a plated mail for that." And I'm like, I was like, huh. I don't remember what it was. It cost $5,800 at the time. I think it was just something where the story was like, you're gonna have to find another way how to get this in some sort of way. But I thought that was funny because like plated mail in that game was pretty damn expensive. So it was like, because plated mail in that game costs about, I want to say close to like $1,000 based on the beginning. That's a lot of money. But that was just a funny quote for me. And so, and then that's it for my quote. So let's talk about the characters. So your main characters is the hero Lufia, Arugo, and Jaren, which we both agreed that we didn't get to Jaren. We just didn't get to him.
Well, and then of course you got your 4 heroes at the beginning, but I mean they didn't really give them much characterization. So
no, and speaking on that, let's talk about that for a second. I feel like just itself, that beginning was too long. It was way too long. It was
too long, and it gave a poor representation of the battle system to me.
Yes, and the fact that you had to fight each being that was not. It was not a cakewalk.
Yeah, you got 4 Sinestrals, and you had to fight them all individually. Like you didn't. I mean, you fought one until you beat them, and then you walk forward, and another one jump in your way, and then you fight them. So it drug the fight out.
Yeah. Now I don't know if how much you explored the kind. Maybe you just went straight to them, but it depends. That's another thing too. Like if you want to go straight to them, go straight to them. But I actually prefer that because anything you get treasures is more pointless because it doesn't carry over to your hero later on.
Nope.
So to me, if you play it, go straight to the boss. Forget about walking around. I made the mistake of doing that, and you're wasting. And you're already powerful enough. You're already sitting on level 77.
Oh yeah, they're freaking just.
So what's the point of
monsters.
exploring the castle? You're just going to roundabouts. I just say you go straight to the boss. But that took a little bit too long. I would have took a cutscene, that moment where the fight was brutal, then the castle got, and then cut and move on to the next thing. That battle was just taking way too long. Now, to your hero and Lufia and the rest of the gang, I'm beginning to like characters that talk and not the non-talkative ones because I rather them trying to make this character something than not say anything because it's hard to connect with a character that, like, if you got Lufia here that is very sassy and bossy and your character doesn't say anything, then it feels like you feel like a pushover to me, and I don't like that. So I like how the hero is, he's a little bit more of, I feel like he really puts his pride on his shoulders of the point where, like, okay, if you guys not gonna do it, I'm gonna go do it, okay? Yeah. I have the blood of Maximum, I'm gonna do this. Like, and he really wears that really proud. At the same time, for someone that's been for 100 years, I get that. And the Super Saiyan theory and all that crap. But just the fact that, like, I think you're leaning on it too much because we're weak. It's not like I started out and I'm, like, level 7. I'm level 1.
Yeah.
So, like, and this maximum power is not coming in later. You know?
It's like he brought it up in every situation or something like that. It felt like he just leaned on it to have a personality or something. It's like, hey, I'm finna make cinnamon pie, yeah, but I got maximum blood. Or I'm finna, go down and play at the park. I'm gonna blow down there too because I got maximum blood.
Yeah.
Or, we're gonna go buy a new sword. Well, I need 3 swords because I got maximum blood. It's like, okay, all right, buddy, we get it. It's like, it's enough.
And I love it because people act like that they just didn't see it coming. It's like, oh.
Well, it's kind of, I mean, some people try to treat it like, the greatest thing ever. And my character didn't feel strong enough to be saying that at that point. It's like, I got maximum blood. It's like, oh, are you ready to take on the Sinestro? I was like, no, he is not.
No. Lufia I did like only because she was the good counter of the hero. I liked she was a little bossy.
She was sassy.
Yeah, and because I liked the part where when you walked out and she followed you and you're out in the middle of the field, I'm like, there's monsters everywhere, but go ahead, let's have this conversation.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm gonna go with you, and I love that. I love the banter that they have for there. But the problem is that banter kind of fell off later on because you didn't get any more of that banter. It was at the part where she was trying to force herself, and after that, nothing. It didn't keep going. Like, I think when there was another part where they went shopping. I don't know if you got to the part where they went shopping. No, you didn't get that far. But they were in a store and they were shopping. And she wanted all these wanted to buy clothes stuff, which it was funny. Like, there's a JCPenney's at a castle. No, because there was actually clothes. It looked like the clothes. They were on hangers and all this stuff.
Why is this the thing in RPG? If it ain't armor, I don't wear it. I mean,
right. I'm serious. Like, they had hangers and all this stuff in there. It felt like a clothing store, and it was like, this is a weird way to have this way, Like, yeah.
They need to figure out if it's an RPG or if it's a life simulator.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need to be going shop. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but
we're saving the world here, people.
Right, but I feel like that it was cool with their banter at the beginning, but then it started going out. Even when Arugo came, he didn't really bring any to the table.
I didn't see anything he brought.
Yeah, he didn't bring anything to the table.
I mean, it was just he was a captain and he was righteous.
And he was inspired by Hero, apparently. He's like, he did. Almost to the point you gotta worship him, not knowing him. He's like, you're good with a sword. I'm like,
yeah, he did say that right after that.
He's like, dude, you're a captain. You're 10 times better than this kid.
And you hit harder than I do. I mean, come on.
What? It's the maximum blood, isn't it?
Hey, I got maximum blood.
Yeah.
That's what it was, and he was just super impressed by that, so he started worshiping him.
You know what? It's funny, too, because I think he could lie, and people just still fall for it. Like there's no proof.
Yeah, you're understanding the maximum. Like, let me see some ID or
like a marking. Most heroes have some kind of marking.
That's how they did it. That's how they did it in the old times, because you have IDs, obviously, but. Yeah, it was a mark on his head that only Maxim had, or any descendant of Maxim or something like that, or even a sword of Maxim's, or a pendant, or anything. This dude just saying, "Hey, I'm a Maxim guy." Okay, must be. He must be.
Yeah, take my word for it. Trust me on this. 100 years passed, had to go to somebody.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah, and I was lucky. I pulled the right numbers in the lottery. It was me. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Yeah. So overall, the characters didn't stand up too much. They did not fulfill what the cover of this game is.
Oh no, they all look like they had different ambitions and different reasons for why they were doing the same thing, instead of everybody just kind of following what the hero wants to do, which is pretty much what it was.
Yeah. So let's get into the meat of the game, and that is the battle system, and that's what you guys probably mainly want to hear about is battle system. That's what everybody want to play RPG for. Is like, how is the battle system?
The wonderful, beautiful battle system.
So Brian,
the battle system it's simplistic, like in the sense that a lot of RPGs, well, newer ones, I guess maybe, they have their own dedicated area for battle. Like you go, like say you go into a battle, the screen breaks or changes, and then you go into a little area to fight.
A cutaway, basically.
Like those kind of battle systems. Mm-hmm. This one doesn't do that. The game pretty much just stops where you're at, leaves the background, and then places your character on the screen, and then places the monsters on screen, Dragon Warrior style, or Dragon Quest for us Westerners or whatever. But so it's more like that, I guess, because Dragon Quest actually does that as well. It just walks and then it shows a little screen, but you can actually see your characters and all that stuff, versus Dragon Quest, you can only see your MP or whatever.
Right.
So you go into a battle, the game stops, then you show your characters. Now, the enemies are grouped, which is something that I hate. Now, if you're fighting, you can fight one jellyfish or two jellyfish. If you're fighting two jellyfish, they're grouped. If you're fighting two jellyfish and a newt, they're grouped. You can either choose to attack both of the jellyfish at the same time or just the newt by itself. If there's two newts, two jellyfishes, you have to attack. You can only choose two different paths to attack. And they don't tell you who you're going to attack out of the two jellyfish. Your sword icon it fluctuates. It goes back and forth. So, one of the problems I have with the battle system is if you are fighting, say you're fighting two different types of enemies. So you got a newt and you got two jellyfish. One character attacks the jellyfish
Oh, here
and
it
kills
comes.
it. Another character attacks the jellyfish and kills it, but you had your other character ready to attack the jellyfish too because you didn't think the other character can kill him. So now instead of automatically switching to the newt, you just attack nothing.
Yeah, you automatically miss. Like that's the one thing definitely I learned from this is the fact everything has to be exact. You have to think ahead and be exact. You have to have faith if your character's going to knock it and just attack something else. It's tough. It's tough. It hurts.
It's annoying because it's like, okay, and then the way they structure how you get to choose stuff, like a lot of games, you choose, and then we go. I've had it to where I chose, and then an enemy attacked me. Then my other character chooses, then I get attacked another enemy. Then I get to attack, and it seems like it's just a big old jumbled mess. It's like there's no. I need some organization on how to do it.
I wish there was a grid, like for example, like Grandia, where or Final Fantasy X, where you have a line that tells you who's going to attack next. Because that's what it feels like. Minus that.
Exactly.
Because you can tell there's an order they're going by. After hero attacks, an enemy's going to attack, but
you just don't know.
You don't know, and it feels like I need some kind of grid so you can tell me so I can strategize better.
Especially with that way that if you attack, you can't choose who you're going to attack. So then you go to attack somebody, and then your other character attacks the same character, and again, instead of it auto moving to whatever's left, you just attack the empty air, and that's retarded. Mm-hmm. But that's it, and that brings up a whole nother deal. Say you got two different enemy types, say you got the same enemy type, and one of them casts mirror, and the other one doesn't. So you can use magic on one, but not the other. But it doesn't matter because you don't get to choose who you attack.
Yeah.
So,
you can't strategize to like which I think is a bad mistake of the shuffle, because one of the things at most RPGs, and especially for me, is if I want to knock out a character, I want two characters to hurry up and just knock out this one person. But now I have to hope that they both hit that same character, and that kind of sucks a little bit.
The fact that you randomly choose between two of the same character types is bad. It doesn't leave for much strategy. It's almost rolling a dice. It's luck of the draw.
Yeah.
Hopefully I hit this guy with the magic because then I can kill him. But on the other hand, I could get the magic reflected back at me if it chooses that one. So you're at the game's whim of who you're going to attack. You don't actually know, and that's terrible.
It's almost a blessing that you hope you have three different characters on the screen, but then you could pick individual ones. That's why Magic was really hard, because I think Lufia is the best one in the group because she's the only magic person,
and her magic does a lot of damage.
Yeah, it does if it can hit. And weirdly enough, the only magic that works for me all time is Dew, because Dew is the only one that actually do solid, hits everything no matter what. It doesn't shuffle. It does a group attack no matter what. Exactly. Unlike Thunder, it shuffles all this stuff. So I don't like doing single magic on enemies.
So it's just a waste of time. So, and it doesn't tell you that. It doesn't tell you what it is. If I told you that I'm going to use the magic called Dew, what do you think that does? It's actually water damage, but it only attacks in groups. So, like I said, you got Goblin A, Goblin B, and then Newt A. If you attack the Newt, it only attacks the Newt, even though it's a spell that's supposed to attack everything. However, if you attack the Goblins A and B, it will attack both of them. I think that's stupid. Why don't they just attack everybody? Because that's what the spell does. It only attacks groups. So it's like the whole battle system is based off groups, and that's dumb.
Yeah, I think I'm just not a fan of groups like that. And to tell you the truth, this is the very first RPG game I would like to say for this showcase that I played a RPG where it's in groups like that. Most of the time,
never played it like
right.
that,
most RPG games, they just throw a bunch of enemies, and you still get to pick and choose who you want to attack.
Exactly, and if you have a spell that attacks all, it attacks all, not the group.
Right. No, it's definitely crazy. I think what really hurts is not carrying over your attack. The miss really hurts, because when you miss, you feel the miss.
Yeah. Say you got four stronger characters, and you hit. Say you hit them to where they all need one hit left, but your one character hit them and killed them, and your other character was hitting them as well because you didn't know how much health they had left. So now you miss, and because of that, you're gonna die because all of the other characters get to attack you, and some of them don't even hit you lightly at all. They hit you hard, and then it's like, okay, at what point am I going to get to play again? Because I got hit 4 times in a row with like 20 each time. And my character only has like 60 health. So if you do 20, there's 4 people. That's 80. I'm dead. Full health. I'm dead. And it's pretty much what happened.
You know, it's funny too, because I feel like the abilities that you unlock in your level is tough, because the abilities that you get are okay, but they're not strong enough to really be used. Like, you get stronger, and the stronger for this ability is not a strength move, is a magic move to heal you, and that's used by hero, but it does only a little bit, not enough to really make a difference if you're fighting a large group of people, because no matter what, it's 3 against, at the lowest, maybe 2. Like, there's ones, but they're rarely rare. You see ones, and they're mostly probably a boss fight if it's 1. But most of the time, I've been up to 6 monsters. Like, the max you can get 3 in a group, so you can get 6 monsters on a screen and 3 in a group.
I saw that.
And so, but you know, I honestly prefer either they're all the same or each one is different, because that makes fighting a little bit easier, and then fighting in the group. But when you level up certain weapons, I really hope for Lufia to get the best ones. Like, I don't know what level you were at when you finished, because I was level 13.
I was like 9, maybe.
Okay, 13 was a blessing, because I was in a hard place, and I got a move by Lufia that just leveled the playing field, but it took so long. It's called Bang. And what Bang does, it doesn't matter group or not, it will attack everything that's in front of you. So if you Bang, it attacks both groups. Hands down. Just explodes everybody. I'm like, where was this move a long time ago? And it's like, why did this take this long for me to get this move?
So it seemed.
So for instance, Do is group attack.
As a group attack.
It's a group attack. It'll attack everything that's in that group, but Bang attacks every enemy.
So
that's awesome.
So with that, it classifies magic in 3 different categories: single, group, and all.
Yes.
That is, like you said, it's trying too hard. It's trying too hard. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah. And it's crazy, because like, Hero doesn't get anything to me that's worth bringing to the field. Like, all his stuff is very healthy. Not even attack. You know, he doesn't have a super attack move.
Yeah, like he got heal and then like maybe strengthen or defense.
Like, you don't get like a super slash or slash everyone attack or a fire power up. You're the blood maximum. Where's this power in these swords?
So yeah, it's like, I mean, we would think in modern RPGs more like, okay, you got a character who's not super great on magic, but he has some stuff. So his normal attack's 15, but he has this technique. A lot of games like to call them techniques or whatever. That could do like 40 though. But it costs technical points, or it can even cost MP. It doesn't really matter. But this game doesn't have any of that. Like you said, the character only gets like buffable magic or support magic. He doesn't get any attack power. I mean, his attack is based on whatever weapon he has and his strength. That's it. But his magic is almost useless in that aspect. And it's like, why?
That's why, like, Lufia is the saving grace for you to keep playing this game, because at least she can do some damage. Because Aruga don't have nothing. No magic. He is basically, to me, he's a waste of space.
That, and they can't attack more than one character.
Yeah.
If they could at least do an attack that hits everything, that would be great. But they don't. So all your, both of your 2 attackers can only attack one thing at a time, while your magic people can probably attack everybody or at least a group. But your attacker can't do that at all. That completely limits them to almost the point of they're useless.
Right. It almost feels like it almost got that a little bit of unbalance, because I feel like the enemies always have the upper hand. It's just, you hope that you make it out.
Yeah.
It's like,
every battle is a, well, let's see if I can make it out of this one, versus, oh, I got it, or, you know, this ain't nothing. It's that. And then we get to another bad part of the game is random battles. So you're out in the world, or you're out in the cave, and it's just random. And what's worse about it is it's not even random to the point of like a time limit. It's just random in everything. Some games, you walk for 10 steps or 15 steps, and then you fight something. Or you walk for 20 seconds and then you fight something. This game changes both every time. I walked in the cave one time. I fought one monster, walked out. I walked in that very same cave, fought 20 friggin' monsters almost.
It was the first time. It was probably when you were going to the castle to figure out what's going on with the. There was no monsters. I was like, okay, is this a free zone? Yeah, and then when I went back in, because you had to save that guy's sister or something like that. Yeah. That's when the monsters started picking up, and I was like, where did these spiders come from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I walked through that cave at least 15, 20 times. Every single time was so different. One time it was monster riddled. Sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes it was. I mean, it's whatever. And then when you're on the world map, when you go into different towns, it's the same thing. I've walked from. There's this on the one town that's where you fight Gates. There's a little bridge that you go across. Now walking from that town to the bridge, one time I fought nobody. Second time I did it, I fought 3 different fights. 3. Mm-hmm. It is not a very long walk. It is really close. 3. So it's like it doesn't have a rhyme or reason to how much you fight. But what's annoying is every time you fight, you're gonna lose health. But then again, that's the RPG way. Mm-hmm. So now I gotta waste health potions, or I gotta try to get here, or I gotta try to do that, and you can't stop it. And then there's this lovely little item called Sweetwater.
Can I say one thing before you go into Sweetwater? I know you want to get to the water part.
Yeah.
But that's one more thing I want to add here, and I take this for granted. And I wish more RPG games did this. I wish there was a confirm before you full go on. And what I mean by that is, in this game, and a bunch of RPGs do it too, depending what the situation is once you pick something, it's locked in. You can't go back.
Yeah. That's true.
And I realize as playing online games, I take that for granted because I like selecting everything. And then they say, are you sure you're ready? And then I like to say yes or no, or I want to go back. But here, you're locked in. You make a mistake on accident, you actually pick the wrong character, and you miss, that's your fault. That sucks. It really sucks.
Yeah, it's not like, and this one is, another thing is different, is it's not a menu system like,
it's a D-pad with the...
It's a D-pad. Up is the attack. You press up and then you do an attack. You press left, you do...
No. Center was attack. Up was magic. I think right was defense. Down was to run.
Down was to escape.
Yeah, escape. And then left. Sorry, right was defend. Left was items.
Yeah, left was items. Right was defend. Up was magic. And then center was what you call it. Other games, they just got a menu. You push up and down. It's a little list. Mm-hmm. And you choose or whatever like that. Escape is a different mechanic as well, too. If you escape, you could tell more than one character to escape. Like,
my escape sucks.
And
I never escaped anything.
When I started escaping, because it freaking went to fighting 2 monsters and then 2 monsters and 2 monsters, and I'm like, okay, I'm just trying to get here. If I keep fighting, I'm gonna forget what I'm doing. So I started escaping, and it depends. You can tell each character to escape, and all it takes is one character, and then the whole thing ends. Like, to compare it to something that's different would be Final Fantasy X. If you escape with that character, only that character escapes. You're still fighting. If you got 3 characters, if you tell one character to escape, that's it. He's gone. You're still fighting. But this one, all it takes is one character, and you can make everybody escape.
I think a lot of all RPG games did do that. They just kind of give you more chances in that way, I think. And one more last thing before you go to the Sweetwater, because that part is really funny what you're about to talk about. I want to talk about the status. That's something that definitely stood out. So when you are after each battle, you'll tell how many experiences you had. Here, they kind of give you a little paragraph of everything that's going on.
Yeah, they do.
So they'll tell you, how much experience, how much gold you picked up. They'll tell you how far you are to your next level. And then at the bottom, they'll tell you overall how much money you made total. The reason why that stood out to me is because that's the only way you can find out your information. There's no select button or a menu to go look at your status of your characters. The only way you find out where you're at is at the overall after a battle.
No, there's a place to do that.
Where is that at? Because I couldn't find it.
You have to press one of the buttons. I think it was B. If you press B, it takes you to a menu.
Well, I'm talking about look up your status. Did you actually look up your status, how far you're supposed to level up to the next thing?
Oh, no, you can't tell about your level
That's
up.
what I'm talking about.
I didn't mean like stats and stuff like strength and all that. You can check that, but
as
far as leveling, no, you couldn't. There was no bar or anything.
So there's no way to go to look at your profile.
But
characters.
It does tell you how much experience you got. It doesn't tell you how much you need to level up.
It does. Yeah. When it goes down, it'll tell you that much, and then they tell you how much you have to go.
No. I mean in the menu.
Oh, in the menu.
The menu will tell you how much experience you got, just not how much you need or anything. You're like, you've made 500 experience so far. Okay, how much I need to level up? And then they just throw their hands up like, ooh.
Yeah. So if you really want to know everything, you have to battle to find out everything. Like, it's cool, but it's not cool.
Because the battling is not up to you. And
right.
Sometimes you just want to kind of run through this little area because you're in a hurry to get somewhere and you don't want to fight everything or whatever, but you don't have a choice.
And I'm an organizer when it comes to RPG games, but the organizing in this game is terrible. You have to do it individually. Like you have to move stuff around instead of like auto sort and stuff. Now
that's a modern convenience.
No, that is modern.
That's a modern convenience we got.
That's a modern thing. I'll give you that. And I still don't like it to this day. So now to your Sweetwater.
And the only thing worse than constant random battles is when you get lied to. So Sweetwater is supposed to take away the random battles so you can do exactly what I was trying to do. Just run to this place, to that place, so I didn't forget what I was doing. Because, again, it doesn't really tell you what you're doing. You can't talk to somebody and tell you what you're doing. Actually, you could. There was a guy at the very beginning that you have to, and he'd tell you what you need to do. Problem is, he was at the very beginning. You'd have to walk to him. And that's a lot of battles. But anyway, so you get Sweetwater, which is supposed to make all the battles stop. I took Sweetwater
for a limited time, right? It was like
and then to tell you when it runs out. I walked 3 steps and went to a fight. I was like, "What just happened?" I swear I just used Sweetwater because you have Sweetwater and you have another water which is supposed to make fights happen more frequently. Sweetwater didn't do anything, so it's like, what? I was so mad when I used this because I was like, I'm just trying to walk, and then all of a sudden it said Sweetwater ran out. I'm saying, so it's not like it worked in the first place.
So it's funny you say that because it worked for me a couple of times. I used it one time, and then I was like, man, this stuff is dirt cheap. I'll just buy like 99 of them. Brian, you can go past 99, and I use some, and it still say 99. We got the Mario problem in this game. Now, it's the one-up problem. Now, here's the funny part. I had that same issue, too. When I was in my last place in this cave, I was using like, okay, let me use some Sweetwater, and so I can get through. Because these dungeons / caves are long. They're long areas. Yeah. And so I used it, and I don't know what wrong. I used it the first time, and I went 3 steps, and I got hit, like you said. And I did that. I was like, okay, maybe this is not working. Let me use another one. I use another one, and it happened again. So I use another one. Then this is the funny part. Every step I had a battle. Every step. So it's more like less is worse. I don't know. I don't get it. Like I was every step. I was like battle. Next step battle. It was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. It was like this Sweetwater. You're right. It did lie.
Why would you lie to people like that? What is that? And after that, I really just I started getting turned off at the game. That and then the difficulty level because again, you were walking through a cave. And you have random battles that are weird. And, of course, I had the bad luck of the draw. I had Sweetwater that doesn't freaking work. And I walked outside of a cave. And I get to the boat. And then I get ambushed by 3 goblins who are really freaking strong.
Yeah.
I was like, yep, that's going to do it. Yeah.
Can we talk about the enemies? Because the enemies in these games are fascinating and weird choices. For instance, like in the first earlier part when you're playing with Maximum and all that stuff in the beginning of this, I was questioning how some of the enemies came at you, and to the point where like I feel like this enemy be a boss, not this. So like for instance, for listeners, like I ran into 3 Hydras together, and they look small, and I'm like, Hydras are pretty big. Why am I fighting 3 of those? Did you run into some Hydras at the beginning?
I ran into
Yeah, I was like Hydras feel like that'd be a boss fight, not 3 little ones. Like I get newts. I get the orange jellies.
Yeah, but a Hydra?
Hydra's kind of weird.
That's 5 heads.
Did you run into like the weird rabbits that look like they're like?
Yes, I did.
They're like kind of look scarecrow looking style. They were weird.
And of course, you had jellyfish, you had newts, you had these little. I don't know if they look like bears or something. They originally was beating me down in the cave.
The blue bears, yeah, blue bears. They look like some little girl that tore up her bear.
Yeah. Then you had spiders. You had these big spiders. You had these plant things.
Did you get a rose with a bunch of thorns? Did you get one of those?
Is it purple?
No.
I fought this one thing that had this purple. It looked like a flower. It had this purple thing. Mm-hmm. And it looked like a flower, and then that was like my first few enemies I fought, and I was scared of that one because he was doing the most damage. Mm-hmm. And then later on, he was a little punk. But
there were bats. The frogs. The frogs are terrible. Frogs suck, awful. Man. Those things they do a bunch of group attacks. Their do is better than my do.
Every friggin' one of them would do. and it hit every freaking one of your characters. And the next one happens, and then he do it, and the next one, and then he do it, and the next one he do it. So now he done beat down your entire team, and your little hero is only going to attack one of them.
Yeah, and the way how the pattern works, it sucks because like if I could defend everything, but because you're doing it one at a time in a certain order, my character won't have the time to. Even if I do defend, it'll get attacked before he even activates.
Exactly.
And that sucks. It sucks. That's why I wish they. There's a grid that they're going by in the game. It's invisible.
They're just not showing it.
They're not showing it.
And that's what we definitely need that.
One of the enemies was funny was the rats, because the rats were really at a friend. Like when you lose one, they call friends like all the time. I don't know if you ran into some rats, but
I don't think I did.
Oh, rats in the cave, man! They kept calling friends, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this won't stop.
That would probably have been like, yep, I'm done.
But thank God, like with the group attack with the dew, it really have the dew is one of the saving grace magic. Like, do everything, because it's the only thing that actually does the job. Lightning does nothing because you don't fight only one thing.
Yeah.
If it was like a group, every match should have been a group attack in some sort of way. No singular attack.
Well, lightning seemed to work for me. As long as you're fighting something singular, don't use dew then. Like, if there's one enemy left and he's really strong, then don't use dew on him, because dew didn't seem to do a lot of damage to me.
But it didn't. But it's the only thing that got the job done.
But it's the only thing that attacked groups.
Yeah, and it kind of it sucked. But the bang, man, I wish you got the bang. The bang was the same grades. Like, it just attacked anything that was all enemies. I'm like, no matter what group. I'm like, well, thank you. Where was this earlier? Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like they made the game too hard. Like, I mean, the RPGs, you're supposed to ease them into the stupid hard stuff. It's like they just started off. It's like, you know what? Do it.
Yep.
Figure it out.
One of the other difficult things was when I mentioned earlier in the conversation about when I wanted to find information with about RTI to fight this apprentice, the guy all armored up with spikes. Remember that? That was actually a one-on-one fight. So like, I had to fight him one-on-one, and I don't have any special things, and that's when I started using the arrows, because he used a power where if I hit him, it hurts me too, and that sucked. I don't like one-on-one fights like that if I'm the only one and I don't have the capability or the abilities to withstand myself. What this game needed super moves for your characters instead of just magic that can only like build you up, not do damage.
Well, just to put that in more perspective, like look at that third guy you get. He has no MP, no magic. What can he do? He can attack one person. That's it. Like, he's not only, I mean, he's handicapped in too many different ways. Magic does more damage, and magic can hit more than one person. While you got one guy who does less damage and can only attack one person. That's all he can do. He has no other magic. That is completely handicapped. Why do we even have this character? Yes, he hits hard, but it's not going to help if there's 4 people.
Right.
Let him fight by himself with 4 people. He's going to die, period.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
Okay.
It's like that. I don't know why they would handicap a character like that, but they did.
Okay. Well, that's the battle system. Now, hopefully, while you're watching this, hopefully there's a video of it. I've been trying to record some footage, so you'll probably be looking at it as we're talking. If not, then you can probably just look it up. There's some long plays online of it and whatnot. So let's talk about the progression and grind. So my progression and grind was basically I mainly stayed around. At the beginning, I stayed a long time between the first area and the castle where all the chaos started happening. Mm-hmm. Then it was around a little bit after where you stopped at, and that's where I started getting money, because this game relies on you better equipped, not really better at your powers. You have to get the strongest weapons. You have to get the strongest armor. You have to get the rings, because there's some rings. Opal's stupid, but there's rings that make you more powerful against enemies. It makes your magic more. I had a water one that protected me from water attacks, and I had to find that one, and that helped me out a lot. I didn't really look up guides for anything on this. I almost feel like it's pointless to look up guides, because this is the way, like, I'm trying to survive, and I kind of knew where I was supposed to go because they kind of give you a path. The one thing that did annoy me was I was confused on certain areas, because in the world while you're walking, there is areas where it's bad for you. Like, there's dirt looking stuff on the ground. You walk that, it hurts you. The screen shakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you'll see trees and little hills, and you can walk on top of those.
Yeah.
And then there's some areas that you can't walk on top of those.
I think that fooled me once because I was walking after that castle and I saw this brick or looked like a rock or something like that, and I couldn't walk through it. So then I was going on some other, and I'm like, okay, I need to get over here, and I think I looked away, and I look, and he's walking over the same type of brick. It's the exact same looking thing. So some you can walk over, some you can't. That's bad game design.
Yeah, the grind was a grind, and part of me got tired of it. Like you, Brian, you like grinding because you want to be powerful enough to just go in and kill this person in like 2 turns. I get that.
Oh, I feel overpowered. Love it.
I get that. This one is tough to do that idea.
It's very tough to do that.
Yeah, because of the whole separate groups and everything like that. It almost turns you off. It's more of like, if I can just get 1 level, I think I'm good, and I can continue on. More than like, let me be 5 levels and I'm good. Instead of like, I think I just need 1, and maybe I can just see I can get a little bit further.
Well, it's not so bad. Like I was talking about earlier, the Legend of Dragoon. I mean, its level system was crazy. It takes so much to get 1 level. However, this game was a little bit easier. Like it didn't take 15 years to level up, but. So I found that okay. I was like, you know what? It's not terrible in that aspect, but the grind was kind of heavy. The different groups kind of turned you off to the battle system. Like, I mean, if you grinded pretty hard like I normally do, I probably would have hated the battle system because, I mean, I don't like it anyway, but I'd have probably just downright hated it before I even started the game. So the battle system, I guess, is not fun enough to want to grind in this game. You kind of just want to go through it and be as strong as you need to be to handle the next boss. But even then, it doesn't feel like it because I gained 4 levels before I went to the first place. But that was only because I was trying to make money to get at least a sword and an armor piece for both of my characters before I went. And again, it took 4 levels to get there because it took so long. So I wasn't weak when I went and fought some of the goblins or whatever, but they still beat the crap out of me like I was. So the progression didn't even feel like I was really getting stronger as far as, I guess, the story beats go. And I know they didn't want me to grind. I mean, no RPG really wants you to grind so hard, but I did, and still it didn't work. So either the game is unbalanced as crap, which I think it is, or it scales. And I hope it don't scale because I really hate scaling.
Yeah, I think too, on top of that, was what the progression was basically to me, it just wasn't fun. It just wasn't fun to do it, you know? I try to find a little bit of fun. Like, sometimes I'm a person where if I'm going to grind, I might bump some music and just play.
Oh, I'm going to.
You know, or I have a show on or something like that while I'm grinding and stuff. I think most RPG players do that. I think we did that a lot when we were younger. Mm-hmm. But here, it was more like, I can't look away, because if I look away, something's going to happen. I might mess up. I might die, you know? And it kind of sucks that way. When you were talking about the goblin and trying to get that boat, that's probably the hardest fight I ever had at anything that I did, because they were hitting too hard, and it felt like this showed me that was leveling up pointless because I have 3 people. I should be able to take down these 3 people.
Exactly. I had 3 people and I leveled up a good 4 times, so I should be roughly 4 or even 3 levels above what the programmers wanted me to be at. Yet that's not enough. I mean, it should have been maybe, I don't know, if they wanted to be tough, then I don't know, it should have been easier for 3 extra levels,
especially at the level you're at. Like it feels like that if this enemy's level 5, it feels you had to be like level 10. And it shouldn't be like that. It should be either I'm matching or I go up 1. And I have a fighting chance.
Oh, that's Assassin's Creed theory.
Yeah.
But only on
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
There should never be a reason why I'm this many levels. See, that's what's something that I liked about Borderlands that they did. If you were a lower level than the person you're fighting, you took a damage penalty. So to put it in perspective, if you did 10 points of damage, if you were fighting a person at your level, you shoot them, you're doing 10 points of damage. Mm-hmm. If you're fighting a person who is a level above you, you take a damage penalty. So you're not doing 10, you're doing like 5. Say you're doing a half just because they're higher than you, and the person above you are doing a damage bonus. So if the guy above you was also doing 10 and he shot you and you were 5, he was doing 20.
Okay.
even though your weapon says that, because you get a bonus. And I like that because that actually made you feel stronger. And it also deterred you from fighting people that's above you. Because it's like, okay, this guy's a 6. I'm taking a damage bonus. Or damage reduction, so I don't know if I really want to fight him yet. I want to go grind, people around my level. I like that aspect because it really makes you feel stronger or weaker, as opposed to some games where you're 6 and he's a 5 and he's still kicking the crap out of you. Like, why do I have levels at this point, then? You saying I'm better than him, but I definitely ain't that. And Assassin's Creed is probably the worst offense to that.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the next section. This is actually a surprise segment that I'm dropping on Brian right now. He does not know about, and it's a really quick one. The segment is called "Let Me Fix Something Real Quick." So, in this segment right here, it's just a quick little thing before we get into our quotes and our review talks and whatnot. Because we're not reviewing, but in our review talk, we're going to talk about stuff that people review about the game at the time and to see what we agree or disagree with what they said. Now, in this segment, let me fix something real quick. So, you, Brian, this whole game, the lore, the battle system, the progression, all this stuff, what's one thing you think you would like to fix that would be a better experience to you?
Battle system, easy.
And yes, of course, you say battle system, but what in the battle system is that one thing that you would want to fix? Because that could be everything. But I want you to pick one particular thing in there that you would want to fix in that battle system then, if that's what you want to go for.
I'd probably add to at least to the attacker characters, I guess you would call them. The non-magic characters. I'd add something to put them on level playing field as the other guys, like an attack that hits everybody, or an attack that just hits stronger, and you can use it as magic. It's called a technique, but it uses MP. So, that's what I do.
Okay. The one thing I would love for them to fix is make the characters a little more interesting.
I agree.
I think they should be more interesting. Like the battle system. I made it that far. I'm willing to accept it. But if the characters could have stood out a little bit more and gave me a little bit more purpose, maybe I would have done with the punches. But after halfway, they just stopped kind of talking and they started not having the banter. It was more like, well, what's left? Because in games with RPGs, it's like the story has to be really good or the battles have to be really good. Sometimes they're good in the middle, but one of them has to kind of give you a drive.
Yeah,
and I feel like the characters did not give me that drive because the battles wasn't doing it for me.
I agree with that. That's probably what it is that the battle system and the characters were both just bad. Like, some games get carried off the battle system while others get carried off the story. And this had neither, of course, but I can agree with that. I mean, you generally want them both to be pretty good. I mean,
of course, we want that pie in the sky kind of thing.
So when you're not, following the story, you want to be battling and having fun. Or at least you want to be so engrossed in the story that you don't care about how bad the battle system is. You just want to see what happens. But again, this game has neither.
Yeah.
But you gotta say Final Fantasy 13. That story doesn't even make any halfway decent sense. But I freaking love that battle system.
You do? Okay.
I think the battle system is great. Okay. But again, like I said, that battle system carried me at least halfway through the game. But after that, I started finding some problems with the battle system. So that's really bad at that point.
Yeah, and you would hope that the characters would have been really likable, where you're like, you know what, it's not so bad because, the hero, Lufia, their banter is awesome. I'm learning more about them. I know nothing about them.
And I want to know more. I want to see what happens next. Mm-hmm. But nope, none of that.
Okay, so that's it on that segment. Let's get into the review talks. And now, we're not here to give you a review. We're here to discuss people that gave reviews at that time. Because like we said, at that time, we're not at that time when we played it. We're playing it now. So it's interesting to go back and hear what some of the quotes that people said at that time with the review of the game. Because it was a different setting. At that time, that game was amazing probably at that time to a lot of people because no game has came and conquered that or whatever. But now, things has changed. Now we're going back to it and say, did this game live up? Do we think the reviewers are at the time? And it would be awesome to get some of these people to come back and do an interview. What do you think about this game now? Anyways,
yeah.
So we're going to go by Wikipedia. You can look it up if you want to. And we're going to look at Electronic Games. And they scored it at 93%, calling it the best game, best RPG game so far this year. And this game came out in 1993. on the same year in Japan and North America, by the way, on the Super Nintendo. So now, calling it the best RPG game so far. So the question is, what other RPG games
That was the first thing I was about to say.
were there at the time?
What? I mean, if it was that versus, say, Final Fantasy 13, that's really not giving much for this game because they both suck. So it's like, I mean, I'm going to need to know what other RPG games came out.
So Secret of Mana, Illusion of Gaia, other popular ones, and we're going to really stick with more of the consoles. PC had a lot of stuff too, but Albert Odyssey, that was a Japanese Super Nintendo
Shining
game.
Force, I know what that is.
Shining Force, that
Fantasy
was a tactical.
Star 4. Oh, Fantasy Star 4 came out.
Yep. Ogre Battle, that was a very cult classic one. Romancing Saga 2, Seventh Saga.
Breath of Fire.
You say Breath of Fire?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. The first one, right? Yeah. Yes. Dragon Warrior 1 and 2, that was on the Game Boy. Dark Wizard. The Ys games. Yeah. If you remember the Ys games pretty well and whatnot.
That was Ys 4. I already had 4 at that point.
Yeah. And Sega's more rare RPG, they, on Sega CD, but no one knows about that. Who cares? So, during all the contenders, I will tell you right now, I honestly wouldn't put it up there as one of the best games of that year.
I don't agree at all with that statement.
Compared to Secret of Mana, Illusion of Gaia, Breath of Fire, those were way better contenders to me personally.
I like Shining Force and Fantasy Star as well.
Yeah. And so...
Fantasy Star 3, of course, been my favorite, but Fantasy Star 4 wasn't bad either.
Yeah, so I disagree with that. Now, in Dragon Magazine, Sandy Peterson gave the game a 3 out of 5 stars.
But doesn't have any...
No description of what he thinks of it and whatnot, but he gave it 3 out of 5. GamePro, they basically go by each little part. So, they gave it 4 out of 5 in graphics, sound, control, and overall factor. Now, I think sound was pretty good. I liked it.
The music was actually good.
The battle music was pretty entertaining.
Yeah. The cave music was kind of somber, but it was still kind of upbeatish to me.
It felt like it had a jazzy sound, a jazzy feel.
Yeah, and then
if there was a lounge in a cave, that's what it would sound like.
The Outward music, I think, provided I don't know. To me, it gave me a sense of kind of struggling against the elements of walking forward. The way the Outward music did, which is perfect because you're trying to walk or whatever. At least that's what it gave me.
Now, tell me if I'm wrong here, but does it feel like that the battle music sounds like a weird version of Dr. Robotnik's music and Mean Bean Machine, but just a little faster or a little faster?
Ooh. I never thought about that.
Does it? Because it has a lot of the. After this, we'll play them side by side. Maybe I'm wrong, but it felt like a little Sega song to me. I guess in some sort of way. I don't know why. I don't know why. But graphically, it was okay. It wasn't ugly.
It wasn't ugly. It wasn't just oh my god, but it was middle ground.
I will give them this. The Sinestrals designs were cool looking. Those characters look awesome. So I gotta give them credit for that. But the character designs themselves, they're nothing special. No, they're not so special. Control, it's decent. Did it move well, move around? Yeah. I think it was confusing where parts that you could run fast, one parts that you couldn't run fast.
Yeah, it was. I think that was on purpose though. You could run, anytime you're in a town, you would run a whole lot faster than if you were in a dungeon or the Outworld, and I believe that's by choice.
Yeah, but there was no issues about that. But overall fun factor, I did not have fun as much as probably that person did.
I had fun prior. I had fun in the very beginning, but that's due to something else that we'll talk about later.
Okay.
And then it started to wear off. So
okay.
Yeah.
It was kind of that. It was fun while it lasted. Feel.
It was just fun at first because I was comparing it.
Okay. So, but those are some of the reviews that we read. Most it did get a lot of it got nominated, but it got beaten by Secret of Mana, which it made sense.
That should have.
It's hard to go against Square Enix at the time. But I give them credit. So now it's time for just kind of like the overall thought about this. of this game, and do we recommend this game to people? So, I'll go first. Lufia to me was a game that was trying to do something new, but it tried too much and it tried too hard. There was too much extra stuff, like too much extra windows to buy an item, too extra stuff for the battle system. It was trying too hard to stand out in its own way. Sometimes takes too long to get to A to B. It took too long to get the story going. The characters were not developing quick enough. But I give them credit for doing something different to stand out. But on top of that, they did too much. And when you do too much, it wears you out. In 8 hours, I was tired. And that should be 20 hours in, if at least for me. If I'm like, okay, this ain't for me. Because in the world RPGs to normal games, 20 hours to me is like equivalent to like 4 hours to another action game or something like that. 20 hours, I should be coming to a decision like, should I continue or not? Because sadly enough, 8 or 5 hours really almost doesn't give you enough to really see the game. But this game here, it wore me out after 8 hours. But that's my final thoughts about this. What about you?
I agree to almost every extent on that one. I mean, they tried it. Like you said, in the beginning, it was a little more interesting. I mean, you got to see, they were talking about Sinestros, and then they were like, we brought our 4 warriors, and you kind of felt it. And then, of course, after that, the 2 of them get trapped in there, and then I was kind of on the edge of my seat a little bit right there. I was like, okay, what's going on? Then you start over, and you start with these other people. And they're kind of interesting at the beginning, and then it just kind of drops and drops and drops. And it's like, you're supposed to keep building to a point. It's like y'all just dropped the ball halfway through before you even got our next character. And then when we get our next character, he doesn't do anything either. And did they really drop the ball in the story time? And I don't know if this was the developer's first time doing a video game or something, and this is their trial and error mode, because it seems like there's a whole lot of errors than trials or whatever, because, of course, we don't like the battle system. We don't like the story. I mean, the characters were boring. The basic RPG mechanics of the towns, item shop stuff was pretty much bog standard, but then they added some excess crap in there that they didn't need. So, I don't know.
It definitely felt that with all the characters all looking like, that was the last thing they thought about.
Yeah, I believe that's true, because you had to find this girl in the castle to take her back to her brother. Yeah, good luck with that. Since all the females in the castle look exactly alike besides Lufia. So, yeah, it seemed like an afterthought to actually make the characters look a little different.
So, Brian, since this is your choice and you have took us on this journey, do you recommend this game to people to try out?
If you're a hardcore RPG person who likes being punished, yeah, give it a try. If you like RPGs and to have fun with them, no, just stay far away from this one.
Okay. I am a no. I basically my real answer is I want to recommend this game. But at the same time, I don't want you to go through the struggle that I had to go through.
Yeah.
And promise you that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's not. You heard the story, you heard the battle system. So you have to think about it. Is this battle system worth just seeing with your own eyes and seeing like, are these guys really saying this is true or not? Or, you like this battle system. It's your call. But me personally, I wouldn't recommend it. Even though the reviews are good scores.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back and look at these scores. They're good scores. But I think at the time, that was an interesting game at the time, and it was doing something different. But going back, I don't see it. I think this is a one-time game for you. If you're the people that play that game and beat it, and you said you used to love it, I don't think you used to like it. You wouldn't like it now. Just saying, because your mind already evolved, and you have played better RPG games with better mechanics, and it's hard to go back to this idea. Right. Sometimes simple is better. And so,
agree.
I want to thank you so much for joining this adventure with us in the party, but this party is about to break up as we go back into our little towns and inns where they cost $100 to stay in and item shop and everything like that. But thank you so much for joining us on this venture of the Role-Based Podcast, part of the In-Game Boss program. Remember, we are a monthly show, so definitely, come, leave a comment, tell us how we're doing. What RPG games would you like us to give a try? Maybe we'll give them a try. And we try to look for games that are not very popular. and go that. But also, too, there is games that maybe Brian wants to revisit that he played once and maybe he never complete. Same thing with me. Our goal is to try these RPG games that we never got a chance to and come back and give you fun results, This is fun conversation and whatnot. So I really enjoy doing this talk and everything and it's just fun to think about and go back to looking at stuff that we accepted and then going back to questioning like, why did we accept this? Well, why do I accept this battle system at the time? All this stuff. Why do I accept that it costs this much? Wow, why did I care about all the NPCs looking at each other? You never really thought. When I was little, I probably didn't even care.
Oh no, we probably didn't see it.
Yeah, right?
Run around and shoot stuff.
But this is only the beginning. We hope that you will stick with us as we journey through all this stuff. Like I said, hopefully we'll have video out for this too, so you can kind of just see the gameplay and hear our talks and whatnot about it. Because I'm not gonna lie, I used some save states in this game. I did some saves and roads.
I did too. I had to remember how to use them, but I use them.
Yeah, I didn't use the battery backup system they recommended on the box.
No, because that's a 93 item. We're 27 years in the future, buddy.
Right.
We're ready to go now.
Right. Remember this show as part of the program. Remember, you can listen to all our shows on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, all descriptions down below and whatnot. And make sure you follow us on YouTube, on the network. We got a bunch of other shows and stuff, especially my main show, the In-Game Boss podcast. So definitely check that out. Brian, thank you so much again for joining the party.
It was a pleasure.
And we'll have more on our trip. Catch you next time.